What? Why did that just happen?
What did it do?
Hold on a second. It's okay.
The switch, which
I don't know
one
why
you're
it does
using?
that. Yeah. Hold on. There we go.
Just tell me right when you're about to start the intro.
And here we go.
Take your country back. Amen. Take your country back. We're dying left and right. They're gonna kill us. Take your country back.
You are fake news. Go ahead.
And welcome to All Things Truth. Crazy week as madness continues. The Kracken has been released. Sidney Powell came out with Rudy Giuliani, which I thought was a mistake by Trump's campaign to let him lead the charge there. Look, if you like Giuliani, I get it. He cleaned up New York. He fought off the mob. But this dude is a meme now. We don't need him to be the first one to speak when you're releasing you're laying out your case of why this election was a fraud. Sidney Powell should have spoken. That should have been it. But I digress. But yeah, this is getting crazy. Georgia's reportedly certified. People are losing patience, basically. Like Tucker Carlson, for example, came out and said, "Look, where's the proof? I want to see something. Why are we're getting dragged along?" I get that part. I understand that mindset. I'm sort of falling in line with that. Whereas January 20th rolls around, and if you ask me, if you want to bet money who's going to be president, I'm taking Biden.
Here's the thing. This is going to play out in the courts. It's not going to play out in the media and in, the public perception. Like he has, I don't know. I like Tucker Carlson, but I couldn't understand why he was like, we need to see the proof.
Yeah.
So they gave you essentially their opening statement. They laid out all the affidavits, which are evidence, which is proof. Best evidence in the court of law is eyewitness testimony. That's what all these affidavits are. And these are sworn, these are signed, and it's essentially by signing their signature and signing the affidavit that they're under oath and they are under penalty of perjury if they lie about it. 10 years in prison. And and some of these states actually have even stricter laws with perjury. It's up to 15 years in prison. So, and you have thousands and thousands of these affidavits.
Here's an affidavit from the source, courtlister.com, where they actually list affidavits being filed. So here's some ballots already been handled. They have been written on by people. The edges were worn. So you can see here, you got some.
Yeah, so that was saying how normal ballots, you see that they got creases and folds because they're folded up and they're put in a privacy envelope and they're mailed out. And then, they're handled. People are handling them before they fill out their ballot, before they send it in. But then all these stacks come in. They have no creases or folds. They have no wear around the edges. The mark for Biden is perfect every single time. And a lot of these people said that they thought that it wasn't actually filled out with a pen. They think that it was actually either stamped on or actually printed right on the ballot.
Yeah.
The vote for Biden. And 99.9% of these votes all were for Biden. So you have multiple witnesses that, and actually 4 or 5 of them from the affidavits that I've seen are actually Democrats. They were Democratic poll watchers. They were, what the people at and this, a lot of this is from Detroit. It's actually all over, but the affidavits that we're showing and that we're talking about right here are from Detroit. And 4 of the witnesses were Democrats. And they're one guy said, I've worked 20 years. I've never seen anything like this. You should see wear and tear. You should see folds and creases on the ballots. These should not be pristine, perfect. You should see some with a check mark, some with an X, some with the box filled in. you shouldn't see every single one of them identical to the previous one and all of them for Biden.
Yeah.
They said they called out Biden's name over 500 times in a row. And there are all these pristine stacks of ballots.
Yeah, so we just showed about 30 affidavits right there. I guess, so how many was there? 300 or something like that?
I don't know the exact number for Detroit, but I mean, they have over 22,000 total. They have 234 pages for just one county in Michigan, and that's probably Detroit, if I had to guess.
Before we even go deeper, let's play the clip of Sidney Powell. I'm skipping Giuliani. Here's the thing. This is what I've been told you this before the show. They wanted to do this press conference, and they said they were going to release the Kraken. Everyone was waiting for this. This was the big bombshell. So what do? They send Giuliani to come out and speak for 20 minutes, half an hour, and sweating profusely, kind of stuttering in his words, kind of looking like an idiot, to be honest.
Yeah.
They should have just sent Sidney Powell straight out there.
I agree.
Halfway through Giuliani speaking, I guarantee you tens of millions of Americans turned it off.
Yeah,
and they didn't even get to hear Sidney Powell. Some people don't even know who Sidney Powell is. So I'm going to play this clip.
That's why I think that they put Giuliani out there, is people don't know who Sidney Powell is.
Which is a mistake.
I disagree. I think they should have put Sidney Powell out there front and center, had her
Doesn't matter if you know who she is. They just need to hear what she's saying.
I did like that Giuliani called out the media. Like, you guys aren't even covering this. You're saying that there's no affidavits and there's no proof.
He could have went after.
She's the one. She should have been the main.
She's the one releasing the Kraken. This is what everyone was waiting for. So I'm going to play her clip right now.
Is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China in the interference with our elections here in the United States.
Look at Giuliani sweating back there.
The Dominion voting systems, the Smartmatics technology software, and the software that goes in other computerized voting systems here as well, not just Dominion, were created in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez to make sure he never lost an election after one constitutional referendum came out the way he did not want it to come out. We have one very strong witness who has explained how it all works. His affidavit is attached to the pleadings of Lynn Wood in the lawsuit he filed in Georgia. It is a stunning, detailed affidavit because he was with Hugo Chavez while he was being briefed on how it worked. He was with Hugo Chavez when he saw it operate to make sure the election came out his way. That was the express purpose for creating this software. He has seen it operate, and as soon as he saw the multiple states shut down the voting on the night of the election, he knew the same thing was happening here, that was what had gone on. For being in office, were allowed to rig their elections. This is stunning, heartbreaking, infuriating, and the most unpatriotic acts I can even imagine for people in this country to have participated in any way, shape, or form. And I want the American public to know right now that we will not be intimidated. American patriots are fed up with the corruption from the local level to the highest level of our government, and we are going to take this country back. We are not going to be intimidated. We are not going to back down. We are going to clean this mess up now. President Trump won by a landslide. We are going to prove it, and we are going to reclaim the United States of America for the people who vote for freedom.
So that's here's the thing now. You can say, where's the proof? She's lying. All you want. The bottom line is those accusations alone is world history. Yeah. Just the accusation, even if it's false, that is going to be talked about until the world ends.
Yeah, and they actually
that's crazy. It's unprecedented what she just said right there. The fact that not every media that's not international news right now blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean it's you know what, it blows my mind, but it also doesn't, because we've seen that's how the mainstream media has been acting for how long now. Yeah. So you would think, like, is this big enough a story for you guys to stop being partisan, the mainstream media, and actually show this stuff? Apparently not. Yeah. So, but we didn't show obviously the whole press conference. It's super long, but Giuliani actually did read off some of the affidavits, and actually he convinced a couple of the people, let me use your name so that I'm not just saying anonymous affidavit. And so he did read off multiple affidavits, and he actually did give a couple of these people's names. So, I mean, that's proof. Eyewitness testimonies is the most powerful proof. So, but yeah, I agree. They should have let Sidney Powell just handle the whole thing, as opposed to Giuliani. Whether you like Giuliani or not, like you said, they portrayed him.
People are just going to look at him and laugh it off. But you know what? It's funny. They can't laugh it off. You want to know why? Because before the election, it was them that were pointing out criticisms of these voting software. So first, I want to show. Okay, John Oliver, exactly a year ago today, did an entire hour episode about Dominion voting systems and how our election is so easily hacked and election meddling, this, that, and the third. All of a sudden, he's quiet now. That's just kind of weird. Now he's laughing at Sidney Powell.
Yeah,
it's a little funny. But this is what he said exactly a year ago.
There's also the threat of someone gaining control of them for their own ends, because voting machines are technically computers, and computers, of course, are hackable. And it can be far easier to control a machine than you might expect, as this hacker demonstrates on a model currently used in at least 18 states.
All they have to do, this bad actor, would be to open up this machine by pressing this button right here. When it's off, removing the card reader, removing this, you don't need any tools to do this. Unplugging this, again, you don't need any tools to do this. Turning it on, all you have to do is pick this lock here with a ballpoint pen. Open this up, press the red button, and we're gonna let it boot up here. Just click cancel and OK. And now I have full admin access, under 2 minutes.
Holy shit! That should have been a lot.
So he's right. Holy shit. That's crazy.
I didn't know it was that easy either. You would think it would be so secure, because they're saying that this is the most safe and secure election ever.
Right. So that's one person, right? That's just one person. He could have been wrong, right? Well, actually, no. More people have talked about this too.
Taking a deep dive, election security white hat hacker, Hari Hursty.
They have set up a complicated system which is centralized and doesn't seem to have any safeguards.
Georgia's vote tallying system is a complex assortment of laptops, iPads, magnetic cards, touchscreens, printers, and scanners. Lots of moving parts. In 2019, Georgia bought the devices from a Canadian company called Dominion Voting Systems. They replaced paperless machines like these, made by a now defunct company called Diebold Election Systems. A federal judge forced the state to scrap the discredited devices. Election security activist Marilyn Marks was part of the lawsuit that triggered the change. But for her, ballot marking devices, now used widely in 14 states, are not the ideal remedy.
We need paper records that are marked by the voter, with the voters on hand, where we know that was recorded the way that the voter wanted it recorded.
Election security experts working for the plaintiffs in the lawsuit against the state have uncovered several troubling issues. Alex Halderman looked closely at the QR codes, where the votes are encoded for the scanner.
By analyzing the structure of the QR codes, I've been able to learn that there's nothing that stops an attacker from just duplicating one, and the duplicate would count the same as the original barcode.
And in late September, another concern came to light. During testing, election workers found half the names of the 21 candidates for Senate intermittently disappeared from screens during the review phase.
You never want to rush something which is mission critical, and this is mission critical, into production without proper time of testing. That's really one of the ways bad actors are finding the vulnerabilities to exploit, is looking for honest vulnerabilities and finding out.
So yeah, you get the point there.
And
there's more too. There's a lot of journalists for the last 3 years have been putting out articles and videos exactly like what we just saw with those two videos.
What's crazy though is that was PBS and that was John Oliver. These are two left far left
Not
media.
far left, but
But they're definitely left. They're not center. They're not right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we're coming and giving you some right wing source, far right wing source. Like these are PBS and John Oliver.
I mean, for the last 4 years, we didn't stop hearing about election meddling.
Yeah.
So I don't know why we have to stop now because Trump lost.
And what he said was that there's essentially no safeguards in place. Are you kidding me? There's no safeguards. And from what I've learned, so these machines can be connected to the internet and they can be hacked through the internet. So a kid on a cell phone, they said, like in a couple minutes, can actually hack into these machines. Somebody can actually come in and plug in a thumb drive and hack the machine. Like there's so many ways to get access to these machines.
Yeah.
And it just baffles me. It's like no safeguards in place. Then the other guy said, well, you can just put this in a photocopier and copy the QR code and just keep scanning the QR code and it'll just keep counting the votes.
Right.
Like what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? These are not unique QR codes that can only be used once.
Yeah.
Like you could just literally just make a couple photocopies and just keep scanning them.
It's crazy.
Wow. Like it's just unbelievable that for 4 years they said that Trump, Russia meddled and Russia interfered and
people bought that without any evidence.
With no evidence.
Actually, BuzzFeed, the website you go to look at cat videos, they're the ones that dropped the Steele dossier. So why is BuzzFeed credible? And that they consider that evidence. That actually was considered evidence. That was proof to the media. Yeah. They proved it by that. So now we have affidavits, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of affidavits, not just one BuzzFeed article.
Over 22,000.
Not just one Steele dossier that's fake.
Yep.
Hundreds of them, and all of a sudden it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, so
I'm not surprised.
For 4 years, they did the whole Russia. They looked into it. There was nothing there. There was no proof. The Steele dossier was actually funded by the Democratic Party.
That's propaganda.
So exactly,
it's propaganda, and people agree with it because they are left-minded.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, whatever. It's kind of just like fine, whatever.
Now 4 years later, now we have over 22,000 affidavits and counting. A lot of these are actually Democratic poll watchers because they understand. Look,
let me show
we might win. We might win.
One, right?
We might win this time. But I don't know. There was like four out of the ones we showed were actually
some
Democrats.
of these are from Democrat people.
And so
here, I think this is the one. I watched them pull out a pile of what I observed to be absentee ballots. At no time did I speak to the poll workers, obstruct them in any way. Yeah, I don't know which one it was. I know you're right though. One of them was an actual Democrat watcher.
4 of them were actually. Yeah.
Because they're honest people. They don't care. It's not about who wins or loses. It's about cheating and not cheating.
It's about integrity. It's about honesty. And they realize, look, maybe my side's going to win this time, but what about in the future? Like they care about an actual free and fair election. You don't donate your time to work at the polls to work for a rigged and a cheating. Like that. What's the point then? Like
what's this one, by the way?
Volunteering your time.
I didn't get to look at this one. I just want to see what it is. All questionable ballots looked machine stamped.
Yeah. So what these people said was every single mark for Biden on all these pristine ballots that had no creases or folds, no wear marks, nothing. Every single one of them was identical to the previous one. So they're saying that they were either stamped or printed directly on there. There's no way that with your hand you could mark the exact same mark, hundreds and hundreds of times in a row. And these are supposed to be different people voting.
Yeah, this is the way you're talking about with the pristine thing.
Yeah, these are supposed to be different people voting.
In the texture paper. It was as if they were intended for absentee use, but had not been used for that purposes. So that's an interesting affidavit right there.
But think about this. Even if the same person...
Here, listen to this real quick. In my 20 years of experience of handling ballots, I observed that the markings for the candidates on these ballots were unusually uniform, perhaps even with ballot marking device. By my estimate in observing these ballots, approximately 98% of constituted votes for Joseph Biden. I only observed 2 of these ballots as votes for Donald J. Trump.
Yep. So that witness said he only saw 2 for Trump.
But what does that mean as far as fraud, though?
Further witnesses, well, think about it. These ballots, so the way that mail-in ballots work is they're folded into thirds, and they're put in a privacy envelope, and they're mailed out. How could it possibly not have any creases or folds? These stacks that they're getting. It's not possible.
The whole thing, right.
If it's not...
That's like saying everybody that got an absentee ballot in that stack did exactly the same thing with their votes. They opened it up, kept it perfect, didn't get anything, it didn't spill anything on it, just
Yeah,
perfect writing, and then they all came in exactly.
But the thing is that if it's not,
that is sketch. And the person said how many years he did this for?
20 years.
20 years of experience of handling ballots.
Yep.
Never saw anything even close.
What's crazy is that
that's a good one.
They're put in these privacy envelopes, right?
Yeah.
If they're not in a privacy envelope, they're actually invalidated. They don't count. So that proves that they supposedly were folded, put in privacy envelopes, mailed to people, mailed back. They would have creases and folds.
Yeah.
Even if you tried to get the creases and folds out of it, you wouldn't be able to get all of them out of there. So now you're talking about over 500 people, right?
Yeah.
Different people these are supposed to be votes from. You're telling me that every single mark for Biden with 500 different people looked identical? Some people put an X in the box. Some people do a check mark. Some people fill in the box. I mean, you're talking about different people that are supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
So it's impossible. There's no way that you would have no wear and tear on the ballots, no marks or folds, no creases, and then every single mark identical for Biden. Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Come on now. And these are sworn affidavits, and these people, they're under oath by signing their name and signing these affidavits. And if they're lying, they're looking up to 10 to 15 years in prison. I mean, this is a felony. Anything to do with election meddling and election fraud, they're all felonies.
Right.
And, borderline treason.
Yeah, that's true.
So when it comes to an election, I mean, the laws are very, very strict because, we're a democratic republic and our votes are supposed to count. And anybody meddling with that and cheating and, whatever they're doing, changing votes, ballot harvesting, all of this stuff is illegal. And every single one of these charges are felonies. So maybe you can get a couple of people to come and lie and sign a sworn affidavit. Can you get 22,000 plus people to lie and risk going to prison for a decade? And then some of these people, Democrats, they would never do that. They'd be like, well, my guy looks like he's winning, so why would I lie?
Dude, listen, I'm just going to give you my outlook on this whole thing. So I'm not putting anything past these Democrats, Joe Biden, people helping him. We know the last couple of years, we saw all this corruption coming from him. His shady deals with China. We covered Sinohawk right before the election. People stop talking about that now. I guess that's getting pushed back aside because there's bigger things to worry about, not bigger fish to fry. But then you got his Ukraine thing where Trump literally got impeached for just looking at it. And we know
looking into Biden's
we have
corruption.
Video. There's audio evidence of a phone call of him telling him, look, fire that prosecutor and you'll get $1 million.
It's $1 billion.
Billion, yeah, whatever. Either way, it's corrupt.
Yeah.
So why are we putting it past them? Then you got all we showed the videos in the beginning of this live stream of PBS and John Oliver. They're raising their concerns of these voting machines. This is not crazy. This is not a big conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy and it's theory. So yeah, it's a conspiracy theory, but it's almost sort of a little bit of truth into it too. So it's like a conspiracy truth.
Well, with 22,000
conspiracy theory, conspiracy
with
truth.
22,000 sworn affidavits, I don't think it's a conspiracy theory anymore.
Yeah, no, and this is a real.
Those are sworn testimony.
And that's what I was getting at. Listen, whether you want to be a skeptic or not, you have every right to be skeptical of these claims. So does the media. Fine. The thing is, though, just the claims alone should be international news. Everybody should know about it. The media should be reporting fairly on this. They should be showing the affidavits, should be reporting them, talking about them, explaining if they're real or not, trying to debunk them. Whatever you want to do, whatever aim you want to take, whatever angle you want to take at these, fine. But we should know about this. This is the election.
Well, what's crazy
is the real deal.
The media has the right to be skeptical. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
But they're not even admitting that there is all these affidavits.
No, they won't.
They're just saying there's no fraud. This is a safe and secure election, and they're not even mentioning thousands and thousands and thousands of sworn affidavits.
Well, yeah,
they just refuse to even cover it.
Well, and yeah, that's the problem.
They're not covering it at all.
The problem is they're not covering it.
Exactly.
They don't have to believe it.
No
one has
they
to believe
should
it.
say there's 22,000 sworn affidavits.
That's it.
That's all you got to say.
Look, I'm just a guy from Buffalo. Why do I have an affidavit right here? Look, I'm showing it. There's 14, 15, 16. That's 3 affidavits right there from courtlister.com. These are real affidavits. You can find them.
Yep.
They explain. These different ballots included a slide. This is someone that signed this,
and that was
under oath,
eyewitness testimony.
If they're lying, they go to jail.
Yep, And
these are real tests. These are real people.
Yep, these are not like secondhand, third-hand accounts. These are direct eyewitness testimonies.
I watched them pull out a pile that I observed the FCC ballots, noticed two different, very distinct characters. These ballots, one I noticed they had a very different black bubble. All were Biden. So look, this doesn't mean that this isn't slam dunk. It's over. Trump wins.
No, it doesn't mean Trump's going to win.
Let's talk about it.
It is evidence. It is proof, and it's got at least the media just doesn't even mention it.
But I'm gonna say this. I know you're gonna disagree with me. I will say this though. I want to see. I want this. I don't. This is not enough for me to be like, well, Biden doesn't deserve to be president. If I had to bet money, if I have forced to make a pick, who's going to be holding up their hand on the Bible on January 20th, Biden. I think Trump lost. Yeah. And I think if they're gonna do this, if they're gonna pursue this and try to prove that there was an election meddling, just like the Russia thing, it's not going to happen before Biden gets elected. It's going to happen after. This is gonna take months to figure out.
So that's
Biden will be president.
You're able to have your opinion. That's fine, but it can't take months. This has to get to court.
How is it going?
They haven't been in court yet.
I know.
So that's what I'm saying though, is that it has to get there
before.
What do you mean?
It has to. They haven't been in court yet. You just answered your own question. How is so Georgia just certified. Now, next week, Michigan's going to certify. All these states are going to certify within the next 4 days. How is it going to be proven that this election was a fraudulent election in the next 4 days?
It has to. That's the way that the Constitution and the laws for elections work. It has to have its day in court before it can go forward.
Exactly.
So the Electoral College doesn't convene for another month.
No.
Yes.
They're going to start certifying next week. That's what they're going to do. They're going to start certifying next week. They have their deadlines. Georgia just did theirs. They have very little time. Like this is why Tucker Carlson Tucker Carlson called Sidney Powell and said, "Come on my show and explain. Just give us something. Give us something that so we can feel good about." And she wouldn't go on the show. She told him to stop calling. Well, so that makes her look kind of a little bit like she's kind of full of it. I'm not saying she is.
They read off some of the affidavits. What more do you want? You want her to come in there and give us her whole court case so that the Democrats can plan to battle that in court? No, you don't show your cards like that in a court of law. You don't let them see what you have. So they came out.
No, that's not true. If you have something, and it's real, and it can't be taken away.
But you give your opponent time to prepare for that.
So there you go. So how does that? You just said you need time. So how does that equate to?
No, I'm saying you don't give the Democrats everything that you have because then they can prepare for it.
I know
that's all I was saying.
I know that.
So you don't go on Tucker Carlson and lay out your entire case.
But that's why I'm saying Biden's going to be president in January. Dude, there's really nothing telling me that Trump's going to be president. I'm not seeing it. I'm not saying that the election was. Look, I believe something happened on election night when they stopped counting the votes at 11:30 p.m. When all these states that happen to use Dominion software just decided to stop counting votes, and then all of a sudden at 5 a.m, bloop, Biden's winning. That to me was like, whoa, something's up there. And then when Sidney Powell came out and gave her release to Kracken, I was like, okay, I believe it. I do. I truly believe her. The only thing is, does she have proof?
Can they prove it or not?
Can they prove it before January 20th?
That's what I've been saying since the beginning.
I do not think so.
I completely agree that there was fraud and that they cheated in this election. Are they going to be able to prove it or not? I don't know. And I've been saying that since the very beginning. Here's the actual dates, though. Election disputes must be resolved by December 8th. And the electors vote. The Electoral College convenes and they cast their votes December 14th. That's not right now. So, those are your dates. They have to be disputed and resolved by December 8th. And then they actually meet and vote. The electors vote on December 14th. So there is a little bit of time, not a lot. Because there's so many moving parts and there's so many things going on because we're talking about massive fraud across pretty much all the states. But it's pretty much down to the battleground states now because those are the ones that actually matter. So, but I want to touch on how Dominion, they had a commitment to go to Pennsylvania and to answer questions and to put the voters at ease that their votes actually counted and mattered.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and then at the last second, Dominion lawyers up and they back out.
Yeah.
If your software is, foolproof and it works perfectly, then why are you lawyering up and breaking a commitment?
It's a little sketchy.
It's pretty sketchy. Yeah. So, it's just, there's just so much of this. But like you said, how much are they going to be able to prove? Are they going to be able to squeeze it all in time? And that's something that we don't know yet. Nobody knows. So there's definitely, it's definitely an uphill battle. But it's a fight that has to be fought. We can't just let our elections just be sham elections like Maduro and Chavez and all these socialist countries.
I want to stop you right there. Okay, so I did some research into Smartmatics and Dominion, and I was like, how are we using these things? Dude, these things were founded by Venezuelans.
Yeah.
Before,
absolutely.
Okay, listen, whether you're left wing or right wing or socialist or capitalist, everyone knows Hugo Chavez stole that election.
Oh yeah.
There was piles and piles and piles of evidence. People getting murdered that were testifying against him. It was just nonsense, dude. It was the most dictatorship thing you can possibly imagine. It was like straight out of a movie script. And then Maduro did the same thing. They're using Dominion. So that's where these voting machines came from. Then they went to Canada and then some countries in Europe. Now they're all over the world. People still think that the Canadian election last year, whatever, that Trudeau had no chance of winning. So I don't know what's going on with that. Like, they used Dominion there too. So now all of a sudden, this is why I keep saying this should be international news. Because the allegations that Sidney Powell is making is not just American. This is a worldwide thing.
Because a lot of countries use this software. So this was designed for the Venezuelans to cheat in elections. And Sidney Powell and her team actually have a whistleblower that was in a room in Venezuela where they said, okay, this is how the software works. This is how we're going to cheat. This is how we're going to, lay out our plans. And that's a whistleblower that will be brought into court when they do make it there. But yeah, it's like, why are we using software, from Venezuela? Why are certain states' votes being counted in Spain and Germany? Okay, so most people, even me, I would have assumed that everything was kept in our country.
Right.
Like our software was from our country, all the votes were counted in country, and that's not how it works. And like me and pretty much probably 99% of people didn't know that. We just assumed that everything.
They said that Dominion software can go to Spain and get counted in Spain or something crazy.
Yeah, certain states have their votes counted in Spain. Certain states have their votes counted in Germany. Like, what?
Now, Germany, there's a rumor, and Sidney Powell confirmed this, that somebody in Germany, a server in Germany, caught the fraud. And then they don't know what happened with that. That's still being just figured out.
Well, that's something that'll be brought forward in court, if that's true.
And then she said, like half cryingly, like in tears, that she didn't know that if the person in Germany was a good guy or a bad guy. Exact words. Those are her words.
Wow.
Which means she's already looking at this thing like this is like big, like this is something's going on.
This has like the implications of this are worldwide.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying at the very least we should be like investigating her claims. Like
that's another thing that upsets me.
This is unprecedented. That somebody would make a claim that this is bigger than Russian collusion.
Because there's actually proof of this. You have a whistleblower. You have affidavits. You have, it's like, the Russian collusion was literally a Steele dossier funded by the Democratic Party. And so when they actually investigated it all just fell apart because it was nonsense.
Yeah, there was nothing.
You got multiple whistleblowers coming forward willing to testify. I mean, it's just, it's huge and nobody's touching it. The mainstream media in our country, this was a fair and free election. This is the most secure election ever. And then even worldwide, they're just talking, nobody's touching on this. And that's the problem when back in the day, you had all these newspapers and these media, they were independently owned. And that's the problem is that doesn't happen anymore. We talked about it before. 6 corporations own 90% of the media.
Yeah.
And so they control the narrative.
Yeah.
That's the problem with media today is that it's not unbiased.
It goes down to your local news, like your local channel, whatever city you're in, your local channel 2 news is filtered through a corporate system that goes up to the federal level. And the only news that you get that's local is like at the end when they talk about the fairs and stuff like that. But everything before that, when they start off like breaking news, this is political. Here's the politics for today. That comes from the top. That's not local. The people. What's Jackie Walker? She doesn't decide what she's going to talk about.
No, they just read off a teleprompter.
They just read off a teleprompter. That's it. It's funny. What's even crazier is that when you start to look at other news channels in different cities, you'll notice it's really creepy. They all sound the same and look the same.
Yep.
Every city you go, there's another Jackie Walker there.
Well, and what's funny
it's really
is that
creepy, actually.
Outside of your local news, stuff that's just relevant to just you, they're saying the exact same words.
Exact same thing.
They're sent the
that's been
same
proven.
scripts on teleprompters.
That's not a conspiracy theory.
I've seen videos where they lined them up and you just literally hear them say the same thing.
You can go by date. You can like Thanksgiving on local channel 2, right? And they're like, gobble, gobble, gobble. And that's like their intro thing. And then you'll see Chicago. They'll be like, gobble, gobble, gobble. And then you go to Detroit, gobble, gobble, gobble. They all have the same intro segue phrases. They even talk the same. They even say the same things.
They're not journalists anymore.
That's not journalism.
They're actors and actresses.
Exactly.
That's it. I mean,
it's propaganda.
If you're reading off a script.
There's a few people on the top that say, we need the people to see this. No, they can't see that. That's going to change the public mind. Take that away. Yeah. Okay, make them say this. All right, here's what you got to say.
So
and then that's it. That's what it is. It's not journalism anymore. It's literally scripted propaganda.
That's why
from the top to the bottom.
That's why real journalists have had to go independent or start their own, because they would uncover a story and they'd bring it to their editor and be like, no, we're not running this.
That.
We can't show
this.
Oh,
you got an affidavit that shows that there was
sorry.
No, we can't show that.
So that's why.
Are you kidding me? You're gonna cross. But here's the thing. They think, we don't want to incite violence and we don't want to incite division. But then they do that. Then a cop tragically kills somebody who happens to be black, and that could have been, that's a tragic thing, okay? No one's saying that those things are valid or should happen. Tragic, right? But when you take that one event that happens a few times a year, when most of the time it doesn't happen, and then you magnify it and put it on every single news channel for an entire week, and then call it peaceful protest, and you're inciting a narrative. You're inciting violence by doing that. That's propaganda.
Especially when you take the video and you edit it, and you only show the part where the cop is shooting him.
Yeah, Thomas
You don't
Sowell.
show the part where he's wrestling with the cops and he puts one in a headlock and he steals one of their tasers.
Thomas Sowell is an economist who mentioned that the economy itself is so affected by the media that the media has the power to take one-off things like I don't know, anything. They can just take one little event, right, and they can show it like this is what's happening everywhere. And what they do is they change the public opinion on things based off things that aren't even really that big, like that present. So the biggest example is the cop shooting unarmed people. It barely happens.
Yeah.
Statistically, it's like point something percent.
Yeah, it's very small.
But every time it happens, you're going to hear about it. Just like coronavirus. Well, the death rate is actually really, really low.
It's very low.
Very low.
Yeah, it's less
but
than
every
1%.
time that someone dies, so you have coronavirus, you die in a car accident, there's a death. And then they show, like you're trying to see there right now, it's COVID deaths, COVID cases. And that's all they do is they show that to you. It's all this shit. And they're trying to get you to think that they're going to die if you get COVID.
What they do is they throw gas on the fire. They fan the flames.
Yeah.
They turn molehills into mountains. Right. That's what they do.
Oh, yeah. And another one, too. Climate change. We all know climate change is real. Anyone that does any research on climate change, you know that the climate is changing every year.
But the impact is mostly not man-made.
Yeah. Humans do cause.
Very small.
Man-made impact is real.
It's very small, though.
Most of the impact, and this is proven by PhD geologists and environmental scientists, most of it is by solar activity and plate tectonics
and deforestation.
No, that's man-made. Deforestation, but that's the biggest reason of man-made.
Yeah.
Now check this out. Every time from the time they started recording temperatures around the world, since they had the technology to do this, they have records now. And every time a record gets broken in a city, which is supposed to happen, by the way, it's going to happen all the time. That's normal. Every time it happens, Chicago broke a record today. It's international news. Buffalo broke a
Global
record
warming,
today.
yeah.
And it's going to, and what they do is they make it seem like every day records are being broken. When really, like the actual rise in temperatures is actually exactly related to from the melting of the ice age. It hasn't changed one bit.
Yeah.
It's actually exactly on point to what it's supposed to be.
Well, temperature fluctuates.
Yeah.
Like, weather fluctuates. We don't live in a like a geodome where
We
the
live on a
temperature's
giant
controlled.
ball.
Yeah.
We live on actually it's a little ball compared to the giant sun ball, flaming ball that we circle around that's shooting out these solar flares every 10 minutes. And you think, and by the way, we're standing on these big rock, these big ground, like layers of rock that are moving, and there's earthquakes underneath it, and there's a big core of magma underneath that, and we're moving, and there's ice melting because we're coming out of an ice age, believe it or not. I don't know, whatever you want to believe about that. But the ice has been melting for the last however many years. It's been constantly melting. So sea levels have been rising. That's why they literally have cities underwater all around Africa and India and Europe. There's cities underwater. They've been like that for thousands of years.
Yeah. This was way off topic, but the reason for this is that the media keeps taking these events and they
making signal them. Yeah.
And they breed fear. That's how they control people.
Right.
Is with fear.
Right.
COVID, you're gonna die of COVID. Don't go to have Thanksgiving with your family.
If you get
you're gonna
everybody,
kill your grandma.
Yeah, if you get everybody to be on board with climate change, COVID, and whatever, universal health care, that's it. You got it. You could control. They're always going to vote Democrat
with fear
forever.
But
it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how corrupt the politician is. Doesn't matter what the other politician's doing. Doesn't matter if he's getting people out of jail. Doesn't matter if he's getting the economy right. Doesn't matter what he's doing, passing good laws and making peace deals. Doesn't matter. Your mindset is, I have to vote for this because I'll die if I don't.
Yep.
Climate change is going to kill me. Or COVID is going to kill me. I have to vote for Democrat. Or Joe Biden, borderline gangster. I have to vote for him because if I don't, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
So that's what they do.
It's fear mongering.
Yeah.
That's literally what they do 24/7. It's propaganda and they use fear to control the masses, and all they do is fear monger.
Like there's people that will vote Democrat if this was running for president. This can is running for president. It's a Democrat. I'm voting for it. I don't care what it is because I'm going to die. Climate change is going to kill me. COVID is going to kill me. I have to vote for Democrat. It's sad, dude. It really is. It's really, there's no more thought process behind it.
Nope.
They fear tactic you into voting for them.
That's what it is. This last election showed that policy no longer matters. Biden didn't have any policy.
Oh, by the way,
he had no policy. He said, I'll tell you later what it is.
By the way, under Trump from 2018 to 2019, the United States had the biggest drop off in CO2 levels in the world.
I know. It doesn't matter, though.
It doesn't matter, though. He's not the climate change guy. Democrats are. We got to vote for them.
Policy no longer matters.
Nope.
Biden didn't have any policy. He claimed he did, but he said he would tell you after the election.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just tell you later.
We're moving into, I honestly think this.
There's no more policy. It doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't.
It's just literally emotion-based
culture,
voting.
Ideology.
Yeah. It's emotion-based voting, and they're using the media as propaganda to fearmonger and to push you to the left, to push you to vote Democrat forever.
I truly am seeing. I believe this. I'm convinced that the world is moving towards a totalitarian,
globalist.
One world.
Yep.
And it might seem loose, like we have all these countries and we have all these states, but it's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And eventually, there's just going to be. That's it. It's just going to be.
People think that's crazy, but what countries are still free?
None.
I mean, even we somewhat still have a free country, but that's starting to disappear.
Yeah. I mean, well, even if, let's say Biden wins and they don't prove it, Biden wins. There's no proof that there was a fraud election. He wins, right? Can you imagine, if we're sitting here in 2024 talking about Dominion voting systems again, and they still don't change it? What if are they going to really keep going? This is not new to 2020. This happened 2 years ago, but this happened in Venezuela. This happened. This Dominion thing has been happening for years, and we're still using it.
But that's why this is such a big deal, and that's why this is such an important fight. Is because if they get away with this, they will do this every election, every 2 years, every 4 years.
Right.
That's the problem. Is that they can't be allowed to get away with this. Even if Biden wins, they have to completely. Oh no, we're not doing mass and mail-in voting anymore. We're not using Dominion, we're not using foreign software anymore. Everything is going to be vote in person,
right?
Unless you're across the seas and you need an absentee ballot.
Yeah, I want to mention one more thing too about propaganda. So we got all these late night hosts. They're all the same. They all say the same thing. Donald Trump yesterday did something stupid. Hit the laugh track. So literally, they all do it. They all have their opening monologues, and it's something about Trump, and they get everyone to laugh, and it's such obvious propaganda, right? But it goes deeper than that. It goes into our movies too. Hollywood, every movie has like this overtones of like how racism. America's so racist, and here's our main character, and she's going to stand up to the racists, and she's the hero, and sexism and misogyny, and there's always these undertones. And the last 5-6 years, it's been that way. Hollywood is going
gotten so bad,
but it's not. You know what's crazy is I was reading about Nazi Germany, and the popular musicians and actors of the time. So you would think they'd be liberal and they'd be against Hitler because that's what musicians do. They're hip. They understand culture. They get it. No, in Nazi Germany, the musicians and the playwriters and the actors, they were all pro-Nazis.
Oh, they were all on board.
They were all Nazis.
Yeah.
They all and like the people would watch these movies and eat it up. Like, that's my favorite actor.
Yeah, they're part of the propaganda
he supports
machine.
Hitler. And you know what? Maybe those Jews are bad people.
Yeah.
Because you know what? That guy, that movie with the nice big chin and the beautiful blue eyes, he says that the Jews are bad, and he's brilliant.
Yeah.
He must be right.
And like just back then, they all fed into it. They were all part of the propaganda machine. And that's what we have now.
Yeah.
Like I watched like a lot of these hospital shows with my wife, and like we watch all these shows, and every single one of them now, they're all feeding into the COVID thing, and like it's all political now.
Yeah, it's all political.
But they kind of like hide it in there where a lot of people don't notice it.
You can't notice it.
Where I see it, I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I see it right away.
Most people don't, and it's subconsciously. That's why propaganda is so effective. It goes after the subconscious. Like these people don't even realize what's being fed to them, and then all of a sudden their mind frame just starts to switch until they're thinking and doing what they're told, and that's hence why it's called propaganda.
Yep.
I mean, and it's effective when the media is controlled by 6, corporate entities.
Whoops, sorry. No, there's a song I have on here. It's from 1914. It's everyone knows it. It's a really famous song by Richard Wagner called "Ride of the Valkyries." Still to this day, it gets played on orchestra channels. You'll hear Peter Hall play this song. Here it is, right here.
Find it.
This is it. So everyone knows that song. It's a great song. It's an amazing, beautiful song.
It's still very popular.
The song was actually made for the army in Germany in World War I. That was a propaganda song to get people to stand behind those troops so we can go and invade Europe and take over.
Get people amped up and get people ready to fight.
The song's called "Ride of the Valkyries." That's the plane fighters of Germany that were going into Greece and France and killing people. And people were like, yeah, that's our boys right there. We support them.
Yep.
And I'm just saying that it's not that different now. It's really we're not that far off from. And people think the Nazis are the right wingers, but if you actually compare Nazi ideology to America, you'll see the left has way more in common. Actually, the word fascist means to bundle. It was invented by Italian politicians, and mostly Mussolini and his cabinet. And what they were doing was they invented fascism as a way to bring together right and left wing ideology into one and rule it under one fist, so that everyone will be happy. We know the answers. We know what's right and wrong. Let us decide. That's what fascism is. Who does that? Is it the ones that want to free the market and cut taxes and deregulate the market so that you can decide your own fate? Or is it the one that wants to reestablish the funds and reallocate the money and give equity here and equity there and decide what regulations are who needs to wear a mask and which one's closer? Obviously, Democrats.
What's crazy is that if you really do look deep, the parallels between Antifa and BLM and Hitler's brown shirts is stunning. They were put in place for the same purpose. Was to riot and loot and steal and attack people that disagreed with them, and to cause chaos and destruction. And then Hitler swooped in and said, "I'm your savior. I'm going to save you guys."
Yeah. By the way,
and he was put up as a savior, Hitler. And as soon as he got elected, he's like, "Well, I don't need them anymore. I got what I wanted." And he actually crushed the brown shirts.
Yeah,
he didn't need them anymore.
Yeah, and then you know what? It's funny because fascists don't take regulations away. Fascists don't allow media. Fascists don't allow late night shows, Seth Meyers, to make fun of you.
No,
they arrest you.
Oh yeah, yep.
And by the way, I'm not saying Democrats do that, but it is kind of odd that on Twitter and Facebook you only see conservatives getting shut down and banned,
censored, banned.
Which is borderline fascist, to be honest. So I don't know.
We're supposed to have freedom of speech in America.
Yeah, and
the tech billionaires, Twitter, Facebook, all of them, they've decided that no, we don't have the right to free speech, and they'll call it hate speech, and they'll censor you, they'll ban you, they'll shut you down. It's unbelievable. So, like, you look around, Hong Kong no longer free. America, like we've said it before, we are the last standing, beacon of hope, tower of freedom, whatever you want to call it, but it's slipping away. Like, are we a free country if they use COVID to say that we can't go spend time with our family on a holiday?
Right.
We have to wear a mask. We can't go to church.
By the way, that's a fascist move.
We can't go to church.
A fascist is you make a move, you dictate something because you think it's in the best interest of the country. So whether you believe in masks or not, that's technically a fascist thing to do.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
No,
fascism doesn't always have to be bad.
No.
It's just, you're controlling the outcome of something because you think that you have the right answers.
It usually ends up being bad, though, because the leader in charge, he doesn't care about the people anymore. He puts into the effect what he wants to control the masses.
It turns into, how do I stay in power?
Well, it always
does.
What's funny is that
that's human nature.
You have all these different names. So you have communism, socialism, Nazism, all these, they're all the same thing.
Yeah, they're all the same.
They call them different things to try and make it seem like, well, you know what, socialism just hasn't been done right.
Yeah.
Nazism was terrible, communism is terrible, but socialism, it's actually a good thing. It could be done right. So they give them these different names and they try and separate them, but they are all authoritarian. They're all totalitarian. They're all dictatorships. They're all the same. They're all based on control, and they use propaganda and the media to assert that control.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
It is wild. But we're going to talk about this next week, and I just wanted to make sure everyone knows who Sidney Powell is. Just make sure you don't have to agree with her.
Yeah,
I just want to do my job and make sure you know who that is, and that that's not getting ignored.
She's a former federal prosecutor. She's a great lawyer. I mean, it's crazy that people don't know who she is.
All right,
are you going to show something or no?
No, we're done. Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Check out our YouTube channel. It's All Things Truth. If you haven't already subscribe, hit the notification bell, like it, share it. Thank you guys. God bless you, and God bless America.
See that? turn it up. Let me turn this up.
You're
YouTube.com/FLT